Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King. And before we get into today's exciting topic, I just want to have a quick announcement. This Saturday at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central, I'm going to be appearing on a panel for an online comic convention. We're going to be talking about the Avengers. Those of you who have seen my Avengers, complete run madness videos know that I have a complete run of Avengers, and I'm a big fan of the series. I'm not quite sure what we're going to be talking about. Probably we're going to be discussing our favorite storylines, and we'll dip in a little bit into the movies, I think. But anyway, I've got the link in the section below, so feel free to come join us for that. It's going to be live here on YouTube Saturday, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. So speaking of complete run madness, I had big plans to have a video today where I'm going to start diving into my complete Bronze Age Wonder Woman collection, because I do have over 200 consecutive issues of Wonder Woman and I want to show off all of those. However, today I had to have a root canal and I just wasn't up to doing the whole video. I still wanted to do something though, and I thought of something thematically appropriate, and there's nothing I like more than being thematically appropriate. So today, just a real quick video talking about the mysterious collector known only as the Dentist. Okay, actually, if you do some research online, you could probably track down his real name, but it's more fun if we just call him the Dentist, because that's what he's been known in comic circles now for almost 40 years. For those who are newer collectors or just haven't heard of the Dentist is one of the most famous collectors in all of comicdom, because he has a collection that includes the two most important and valuable comics in the entire world. Yes, he has the two most valuable comics in the entire world. He has the highest grade copy of Action Comics #1. It's the Edgar Church / Mile High copy of Action Comics #1. Now, he bought this in 1984 for $25,000, and at the time it was widely considered that he had gone completely off as not doing that, because it was such an absurd amount of money to pay for a comic book. Everyone thought he was just a complete lunatic, and he was all people really knew about him, except for like the super industry insiders, is that he was a dentist who had a lot of money and loved comic books. So people at the time ridiculed him. They thought he was ridiculous. But now, of course, he's got the most valuable and historically important comic in the world. Not only is it Action #1, but by all accounts, it's the highest grade copy of Action #1. There have been two 9.0 copies, CGC 9.0 copies, that have sold at auction. One was over 3 million. One was something like 2 million. That was the Nick Cage copy. From everyone's understanding, the people that have seen the book in person, professional graders, the people that run both CGC and CBCS, have seen the Dentist copy of Action Comics #1 in person, and the CGC representative said that they would probably have it at a 9.2 for CGC. CBCS had it at a 9.4. Either way, it's the highest grade copy of Action Comics #1 in existence, and it's the Mile High Edgar Church copy, so it's got the pedigree going for it too. Rumor has it that he was offered several $1,000,000 for this copy many years ago before those auctions, and has turned it down and has no interest in selling it. And I'll talk a little bit about this later because I find it really interesting. But it's kind of hard to tell how much it's worth now. I think at least 5 million. Other people I've seen online speculate more like 7 or 8 million. But anyway, you look at it, he's got the #1 comic in all of comic collecting. But if that wasn't enough, he also has the #2 comic in comic collecting, because he owns what is, by consensus, a wide margin, by far, the best copy of Detective Comics #27, the first appearance of Batman, as well. Now, with Detective Comics 27, there aren't nearly as many high-grade copies for whatever reason as Action. I know there was an 8.0 that sold for over $1 million at auction, and I think there might have been a higher grade CGC graded copy floating out there. My understanding is that his copy, The Dentist, bought in 1990 from the Allentown pedigree, and my understanding is it's a stone lock 9.6. So it's like several grades higher than any other known copy of Detective Comics. Not sure how much The Dentist paid for that. Again, he got that in 1990, just 6 years after his Action #1 purchase. And as a result, you know, he's got the collection, really. Now, there's other people that have him. There's a guy, I forget his name right now, who has what's called the Impossible Collection. You know, there's a guy that had put together a complete run of all DC comics ever printed. So there's other, like, famous, you know, well-known, massive, major collections. But when it comes to the best of the best, The Dentist has it. And I think it's cool that, like, he's sort of a reclusive figure. People in the industry, you know, in the grading industry and the really high rollers, they know him. But otherwise, he keeps to himself. He doesn't show the books off. They haven't been professionally graded because why? Like, why even risk someone else handling those? But again, they have been seen by the professional graders, and everybody says, far and away, the best copies. They aren't the only comics he has. My understanding is not only does he have the mile-high Edgar Church copy of Action Comics #1, but he has the whole run of early actions from the Mile High collection. Yes, I don't know exactly how long it runs, but from what I was reading, it probably goes into the mid-20s, so he's probably got the first 20 to 30 issues of Action Comics. He's got the Edgar Church Mile High copies. Most of those will be the best or one of the handful of best graded, highest grade copies in the world. He's got the whole run of all the early actions, all the big Superman books. So incredible collection. You know, I know we're all collectors. That's why we're here. And so I think stories of collectors I personally find interesting. And The Dentist is just one of these sort of legendary figures who has this legendary collection that almost nobody has ever seen. What I really find interesting, though, is that according to some stuff I read on CGC, he and his son are still actively collecting. They were sold off a whole bunch of stuff in the last few years, but I guess they're still buying new things. And I find this really interesting because I've talked to other collectors who, when they got their Grail books or they got their big books, they sort of lost interest in collecting because they had achieved what they wanted to do. And I wonder about having the resources to get anything you want, because part of the fun for me is the thrill of the hunt, you know, finding stuff in the wild, finding, you know, copies in dollar bins and stuff. But there's a certain, like, putting together a difficult run, you know, that took you years and stuff. That's part of the fun, you know. And if I had, you know, $1 billion and I could buy every comic in existence, would it be that fun to get them? Like, would I feel the same satisfaction? I don't think I would. So I think it's really, really cool and really interesting that The Dentist, even though he already has this stuff, there's still stuff that he wants and still collecting it. And I actually think it's really cool that the same person owns both of those and refuses to sell them, because that sort of gives everyone else, all those other high rollers that may have that problem of, well, now what do we do? They all have an unattainable collecting goal, you know. People that have offered Dentist millions and millions of dollars, Nick Cage supposedly offered him several $million a number of years ago. They can't get it because he refuses to sell it. And so no matter what they do, there's always going to be something that they can't attain in collecting. And I think that makes it really cool for everyone. So anyway, I just wanted to do a little video about The Dentist, since I had to visit The Dentist myself today. And what do you guys think? Like, if you had the money and the resources so you could get any comic at any time, anything you wanted, you could just, like, make a phone call and be like, you know, send me a Captain America Comics #1, and there it is. Would that take away from the fun of collecting for you? Would it take away just some of the fun? Does that not matter to you? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I find this to be really interesting. And next week, once my face is healed a little more, then I'll be diving into my Complete Run Madness, Complete Run of Bronze Age Wonder Woman. I'm going to be covering Wonder Woman from the beginning of the New Look Mod era, number 178, all the way through the end of Crisis. And if people really want to see them, I also have the whole George Perez run, Volume 2. So I've got the first 62 issues of Volume 2 in addition. So all told, it's something like 215 or 220 straight issues of Wonder Woman over a period of about 25 years. I'll be showing all those off. I'm going to be talking about what a complete mess that series is, and yet somehow I ended up loving the character even though all the stories are crap. So we're going to go into that next week, but for now, thanks very much for watching. I've got like buttons, subscribe buttons, there's bells, there's whistles, I don't know. There's a thing here you can hit to subscribe. So thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.